afternoon, actually, of January 12th, 2021. And it was definitely time for a video for the new moon, which happens at the stroke of midnight tonight. So just a little over 10 hours from now. As I prepared for this video today, I contemplated best practice, best message. And as I opened myself to receive from the ancestors, I got a lot of different depth, quality actually, of content from them. And I think it's very helpful to discuss this in terms of how I plan to move forward with these videos. As people have commented the last 6 or 7 months, however long it is we've been doing them, I see that tangents off the moon cycle readings, the new moon and full moon readings, need to happen. And these tangents include the medicine wheel videos, which we've done 2 or 3 of, and I plan to do another one this week. Also on the nature of ritual. I talk a lot about rituals for the new moon and full moon, and people have been confiding in me that they feel like a deer caught in the headlights of a car. They don't know what a ritual is. They were never brought up doing ceremonies and rituals. They don't know what that means. They feel like if they try to do something, they'll do it wrong. And so I'm going to start a series of videos on the nature of rituals in terms of how we can create rituals that are meaningful for us, because the meaning has to come from within. It isn't an external set of rules, but there are things to consider to make your magicalness work to manifest what it is your intention is in making the ritual in the first place. So look for those videos, and if you have a request or a question that will help me formulate these videos to best suit what you're interested in, by all means email us at the email in the comments below in this video. Also, I have created the lunar calendar that gives new moons and full moons, apogees, perigees, special events in the cosmos. If you want a copy of that, please email us again, and I will send that along to you from a place of love and respect, and help get you on your journey. All that being said, I want to talk about this new moon with respect to where we are today on the wheel. For those following the Gregorian calendar, tonight's new moon is the 1st of 2021. But from an indigenous perspective, it is the 2nd new moon, and that's right here with the number 2 on the wheel. And where the first full moon was coming into what we call the holiday season here in the West, that moon was about talks with relations. That was the name of the grandmother, because we, in a non-pandemic year, are getting together with our relations, and we're, retelling the family stories, but the community stories as well, and doing culturally specific and spiritually specific events. And our relations aren't just the people we're related to by blood. They're friends, they're the community. But we are in the last final hours of that particular moon cycle, and we're moving into a very different context for the moon cycle. It's called, the moon cycle itself is called Strong Winds Moon. And of course, from January into February, we can expect polar vortices and blizzards and what have you. But the name of the grandmother for this second moon cycle is Wisdom Keeper. And the totems that are associated with this moon cycle are Kiviat, which is the Arctic muskox. And if you're a textile artist, a spinner, weaver, knitter like myself, crocheter, you know that Kiviat is pretty much the most expensive fiber on the planet, because these are wild animals, ancient animals, and you can't just pen them up and go and pull some hair off. They have to be followed, and where they rub themselves against the bushes, the Kiviat leave little clumps of hair, and the local peoples in the Arctic actually gather that hair. So Kiviat is the totem for people born in this time, and buffalo is the clan animal. Both ancient animals, both animals that know how to survive in the harshest of conditions, and not just to subsist, but to exist for the long term. They're in their life's journey for the long term. They're ancient animals. So this is about persevering and perseverance and being able to cope with the stresses of the winter come from a place of our internal wisdom. And so Wisdom Keeper is this grandmother, and the chakra that she's associated with is the crown chakra, and the healing plant that's associated with this grandmother is sweetgrass. So that suggests right there we've got some contemplation to do, some meditation, if you will, some prayer, if you want to call it that, but some connection with the internal source of our wisdom and the external collective consciousness, the great overarching consciousness, whether you call it God or Wankantanka or the Great Mystery, the All That Is, Creator, whatever you call it, Allah, it doesn't matter. It's that overarching consciousness in the universe. And so when we're doing our rituals, we are connecting with that consciousness, whatever you call it. So let me read you a little bit about the aspects of Wisdom Keeper. What's her message? What's her 1/13 of the wheel about? She is the protectress of sacred traditions, the keeper of the stone libraries and earth history, the guardian of the remembering and the art of memory, the mother of friendship, planetary unity, and mutual understanding. Wisdom Keeper teaches us the arts of self-development and expansion, how to access planetary memory, personal recall, and ancient wisdom and knowledge, how to understand the wisdom that every life form holds and its missions, how to be a friend and to restore friendship by honoring the viewpoints of all life forms. Wisdom Keeper teaches us how to honor the truth. So, I'm going to talk first about the cards that I pulled with her in mind, and then talk about the nature of ritual. And before I talk about these things, I'm going to have Brian pan around the room and just show you the nature of the ritual space where we're filming, just to give you a hint of the kinds of things we'll be talking about. So as he pans around the room, you're going to see that there's a light with a red bulb in it, right beside an angel lamp, that while the bulb isn't red, the glow is both red and violet. Angels are very important to me, and angels are a part of the sacred realms. And so in the spiritualist tradition, I was taught that the red light wavelength attracted spirit. So as Brian is maneuvering himself around the equipment here, so as we move down to the shelf where you will see a picture of a sacred shaman that was gifted to us in the ritual of marriage. And on that table is a shell and a Himalayan salt lamp. The salt lamp purifies the air. The shell is for ceremonies. Many of you have been here during these ceremonies. And there's an incense burner, which we are not burning just at the moment. So as he pans around above my little fireplace here in the teaching room, what we call the library, jokingly, you'll see that there's a God box and there's candles and there's sacred blessed water on behalf of Kathryn. There's all kinds of crystals. There's a selenite lamp. And as he pans up above the bookshelves, you will see that there's the ritual objects we use in ceremonies. All kinds of ceremonies, from weddings. There's drums up there. There's the stuff we use to do ritual bundles. And even on the table that I'm sitting at right now, I have candles, I have shells, I have crystals, I have a skull. He seems to be joining us. I have a pyramid. I have my cards. I have dowsing implements. All these things are sacred to me in my ritual space, and this is a space I come back to. So I'm going to come back to that point a little bit later. So in the preparatory ritual of pulling the cards, I sit with them and I do something that every shamanic practitioner I've ever worked with in all my years, right from the Shamanic Foundation and Michael Harner to Sandra Ingerman to my elders and teachers up north and in other countries, is we put a hand upon our heart. So in this instance, my teachers taught me to hold a crystal, and I hold it with the point facing in. There's a cardiac meridian here, and I put my hand upon my heart and I breathe. And that's what I do in preparation for pulling the cards. It takes seconds, usually 4, 8, or some multiple of 4 breaths. So I've pulled the cards, and in reflecting on how people are feeling, because I get a lot of input both as a minister and an elder on how people are feeling. We're in the lunch bag letdown phase. It's after the holidays. It's cold. Depending where you live, the weather isn't allowing us to get out and do even the simple things we're allowed to do right now, like get groceries with ease. So I asked Spirit to discuss. I asked the ancestors, and what is it that we all need to hear as a collective of people, as a big family of people coming together to hear the words and messages from this connection of source. And I was guided to put away some of the decks I normally use and pull out a couple of different decks. One on this one here on spell casting, and this one here on the elemental oracle. I have many variations on that theme, but these were fairly new to me, and I thought, well, why not bring them on board for today? So the very first card I pulled from the Naked Heart deck was the Nine of Swords. In the context of what Spirit is saying, the Nine of Swords is very much about feeling trapped by our thoughts, feeling overwhelmed by the mind, feeling overwhelmed, perhaps not moving forward with things that are expressions of ourselves. So this is a cautionary card here. It's in the upright position. And if we are able to not be caught up in our thoughts, particularly repetitive old tapes and loops kind of thoughts, we are gifted with strength card. We have the strength as this collective consciousness advances and ascends. We have the strength to move beyond that which limits us in these dark, dreary days of midwinter. I note that the artist and author put upon the lion's head the symbol of the Métis, the Alpha, the infinity symbol. We are infinite beings, and we needn't limit ourselves. Any expression of limitation is internal. There are no external limitations. It isn't the government's fault that we're confined. It might be the pandemic's overarching issues, but that is a truth that we live with. So how do we creatively unlimit ourselves with these external conditions as a small factor? And they are, in the large picture of things, a small factor. The Seven of Pentacles came up in the reverse position. And I thought I'd share with you what the author's intention was in this manifesting the tree of life, but in the reverse. What's the caution here? Okay. When I slow down and get grounded, I can evaluate my present situation. As I lean into patience, it allows me to assess where I am headed and what is needed. This allows me to visualize the unfolding of my desires. As I trust in the big picture, I consciously choose the options that best serve my present and future goals. I wisely and thoughtfully choose how I spend my energy, knowing strength and stability are built over time. My persistence is the key to my long-term prosperity. If something no longer resonates with my energy, I can choose to release it and make room for what aligns with my long-term goals and growth. So stay grounded. You need to ask yourself, is it possible that short-term thinking is affecting my long-term vision? Wise, wise words. We get stuck in thinking that mid-January is going to last forever, and it isn't. It isn't so. The last card from this poll is the Eight of Pentacles. It's a beaver, but he's in reverse. And it's asking us to basically expand beyond ourselves and this moment. If you're stuck, is it possible that your lack of momentum is due to a lack of expansion? So these are gentle warnings. Don't get caught up in your head in old ways of thinking. Know that you have the strength to move on. Know that we need to stay grounded because this tree is uprooted here, and that we're going to have the movement and the expansion we need if we're cautious about the anchor card here, what we're thinking. So I pulled from the Pintar deck because I associate the Pintar deck with the ancestors, and that's come more and more so over the years. And what grounds us? Well, it's the same thing that the basis of rituals the thing that we need to do. When we make bundles, we're using things of the earth, air, sky, and water. So the ancestors are talking to us about, first card pulled was stillness. There's a polar bear here that's hibernating, and the young woman and the rabbit are in stillness. When we are in stillness, we are then open, able to expand into the vision of where we are going. And from the vision, we can transform any situation we do not care to be in. And what we get is incarnation. And what's kind of both thrilling and gobsmacking, overarching, this card was underneath this card when I pulled them. So we turn the tree in the right orientation. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. So to help you with your rituals for tonight, I went to these two decks and I asked what would help us. What are the simple things that would help us? And I was guided to pull 3 cards from this one deck. The first card was reconciliation. Reconciliation often implies reconciling with someone else outside of us. But in this context, I got the very strong message that we need to reconcile with ourselves. We need to come to terms. It's like taking a journey. If we focus on the map, if it's to a place we've never been, and we take the steps and make the right turns and go in the direction that we're guided, we'll get to where we are intending to go. But if we let ourselves get distracted and we don't go in the right direction and we don't follow the map and we don't do that, we're not going to get where we intended to go. So we need to reconcile with ourselves. And how do we do that? We focus on our well-being. So this is exactly what the next 36, 48 hours are about. Because when we focus on, reconcile with ourselves, focus on our well-being, we will come to our life's purpose. What do we see again? A damn tree. All right. It amazes me. These are all different decks. So I asked for further clarification just because I'm a stickler for details. And I got, okay, so how do we do that? How do we foster our well-being? Any rituals, any good rituals, involve the 4 elements that we see and the 5th element we don't. So earth, air, fire, and water. Things that represent that. So we need to deal with the elements. And the 5th element is spirit. We deal with spirit, although we can't see it, but we can have some sort of representation of spirit in our sacred space. The first card that came up was earth. So I suggest that if you have the opportunity to get yourself out onto the earth, the direction spirit is suggesting that you face is south. Face south, where grandfather sun comes from. Midday. Third card was connect with the moon. Well, it's new moon tonight. Okay. And this card, speed. I had to sit with this card because at first I thought it was implying that we needed to sort of rush through the ritual. No, that's not what it means. As I sat with it and as I pulled together the cogent meanings here, I got the sense that we need to get on with it and we need to do it. When we eat a meal, we eat a meal at the right speed. We don't inhale it. We don't rush through. This is about doing it expediently and not procrastinating. That's what this is about. So, this is very timely. Very, very timely. Because we are pressured with the fact that new moon comes in about 10 hours from now at midnight on the 13th of January. I know that from the time we are kids, we've collected stones. The stone people, the keepers of the records of the earth. This grandmother, wisdom keeper, that's one of her jobs. She knows that we will get information from the stones. Gather your stones and crystals. Don't worry about the right or wrong way. We've been out and we've gathered feathers. We've gathered shells. We've gathered bits and bobs and pine cones and things, other things we found on the earth. Driftwood. Whatever. Pull those kinds of things together to represent the elements. I was gifted some sand by a friend, Ian, some time ago from a sacred spot not too far from here, and it contains fragments of garnet in the sand, and it was placed in the strata of rocks. It's a sacred thing. And I moved those into a sacred dish from the bag that I had them in today on purpose, with intention, because those represent Bear Clan ancestors. I asked for some very specific stones to deal with, and I got two. I got one stone is called Infinite, and it's a white stone, and it's about ascension and angelic stuff, and I don't very often talk about Infinite. In fact, I had kind of set it aside. I only have one sample of it, and it is what it is. But Spirit was very clear to draw my attention to it. The other thing is Garnet. Garnet's a very good one. Inasmuch as this grandmother is about the crown chakra, the stones of the crown chakra are clear quartz, they are apophyllite, they are moonstone. So those are stones that you can have. If you happen to have a piece of Infinite, great, use it. These are stones that are readily available. Another one that's good for this particular night, especially this night, is aqua aura or angel aura. Those are other good stones. So I want to leave you with this sense that the wisdom that we're seeking is an internal process. It's not external. I will be doing some feature videos on the nature of rituals and how we create magic. Don't be frightened by the word magic. Magic is an expression of the use of the elements, the very same earth, air, fire, water, and spirit that we've been talking. So, thank you for watching, and again, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you subscribe, the mighty machinery within YouTube gives us some kind of opportunity to be presented to more people. And certainly if you have comments or questions, get a hold of us. We're here. So, miigwech, Yawen.